You've learned that a struct is a value type and a class is a reference type. But why would you use one instead of another? When writing applications in SwiftUI, we separate the data part from the part that interacts with the user. We call the part that interacts with the user a view. The part that handles the data is called a model. For example, in our menu app, the menu items are part of a model of a menu. The appearance of the menu and the gestures and taps on the buttons are the interaction with the user. That is a view. Value types, such as strings and integers, most often are the property types within a model. The model itself is a class, a reference type, so that any reference to the model can change the values everywhere it is used. For example, imagine another model that contains the customer's order. It may change and display in several places, and all those places that model gets used, the model should give the same information. You sometimes hear this referred to as a single source of truth. Since passing a value type even in a parameter makes a new copy, we don't want to pass or assign value types in models. Thus, we pass the reference instead, which points to the same model. On the other hand, we might have an object within the model. For example, a menu's item entry of price, name, and description. For that, I'd use a struct. All right, so now let's go back to the app and try to do this for real, okay? So we're still in our playground from before, so I'm going to hit my playground. I'm going to go back into our Huli Pizza takeout here, and we're going to start playing around a little bit with this. So I'm going to pull up the sidebar, and let's hit the add button on top, and I'm going to make another Swift file for this. We're going to rename this one menu model. Okay, and so we've got a menu model type now. And this one, we're not going to do anything with the actual SwiftUI. We're going to be doing just classes and structs here. And I'm going to start with a struct from our menu item. So let's say we're going to just have a name and a price for a menu item to start with. So I'm going to start with a struct. We're going to call it menu item. And inside of that, we'll put the name and the price. So var name. That's a string. Var price, and that's double. There we go. Okay, so that's all we need for this. I'm going to skip the init this time. Unless I need it, I tend to leave it off to increase readability. So I can make two menu items with this for testing constants. So let's do a let for constant and test menu item 1. And you can see in autocomplete, we've actually got menu item already there. So I'll hit return. I'll do the parentheses. And again, it's got in autocomplete everything we need. So I'll go ahead into that. And then I'll put a name in here and I'll make that cheese. And then for the price, I'm going to make that, oh, let's just say $7. And then I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do this the easy way. You can type it out if you want, but I'm just going to copy and paste it and make a few changes. So first thing I'll do is go over here to make it menu item 2. And I'll tap on the cheese and make that pepperoni. And make the price, oh, I don't know, $9. Maybe it's good pepperoni. All right, now I'm going to go switch over to content view for a sec. And we can get rid of our sidebar so we can read this a little bit better now. I'm going to go down to the bottom of my code here to where we had menu item view. We're going to go ahead and change some of these menu item views. And probably easiest way to do this is I'm going to delete these two menu item views and retype them in. Okay, so we're going to menu item view. And I'm just going to need for this one the image name. So I'm just going to put image name in. And we use test menu item. There it is, test menu item 1. Now, test menu item 1, you can see we've got an error. That's not what we want. We want the name in test menu item 1, so make sure you put in there name. Okay? And we'll do the same thing underneath that. And do another menu item view. And there's test menu item 2 and dot name. There we go. Okay, now you'll notice there's no change yet. It's because we still got placeholders in our code that will make us not work. So I'm going to go over here and let's start over here in H menu item view. And you'll notice down here in the VStack, it says text menu item. And I need to change that to be what my variable image name says. So we're going to go over here and I'll select that. Actually move it over a little bit more because I want to get rid of the quotes on this time. And we're going to go into image name. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing on vMenu item view. And let's get rid of that. And put it in there. And you'll notice now in our preview, we've got cheese and pepperoni on our descriptions. So far, so good. Okay, let's go back to menu model and let's do the next phases. So we've got a struct here, and the struct is working. So we're looking at an object that's just making these things work. Now I'm going to put them in a collection, which is going to be my class, and we're going to call that menu model. So let's go into here, and I'm going to make a class menu model. And inside of there, I'm going to put my collection. Now, for the moment, the way we're going to do this is I'm going to make just two items, one called item 1 and one called item 2. So we'll just do var item 1. And that is going to be a menu item. So I'm going to take one of the menu items and then var item 2, and that'll be a menu item. Okay. Now, as you can see, it's giving me a big alert about the stored property. Let's look at that error again. So we get an error, stored property item 1 without initial value prevents synthesized initializers, which means we forgot the init. And so we have to put the init in, and so I'm going to go hit that X there. And right here we're going to put an init. And we'll just do item 1 colon menu item. Item 2 menu item. And just like we did before, I'm just going to use self. We'll call it item 1 equals item 1. And then self item 2 equals item 2. And there you go. We've gotten rid of all of our errors because we have the init in there for the menu model. Now I can add the model to my content view. So let's go back into content view and close up the sidebar here. And we can go to the top here. And I'll add with all my other variables. var menu. And that will be a menu model. And it's going to have an item 1 and an item 2. And we'll use the test menu items for this. So we can do test menu item 1 and test menu item 2. And that's satisfied. And we can go back down to the bottom of the code here, and we can test this out using the same thing here. And I'm going to just put this as menu dot item 1. And item 1 is a menu item. So I'm going to need the name here. You can see it's still giving me an error. So I'm going to put the name. So it's menu item 1 name, and that gets my information. You can see already on the bottom, we've got cheese for a title. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing on the other one, which we got the image name is the banner image. And so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do menu. We'll do item 2 this time. And again, I need the name. And that disappears and becomes pepperoni. I'm seeing in the preview my pizza names. So let's just trace down what's happening here on one of these. So I've got menu item view, and I'm sending it an image name of menu item 2 name. And so that then goes into menu item view, where it's got an image name. That image name is then passing it, depending if it's vertical or horizontal, into one of these two. In our case, they're probably almost all of them are vertical, so we'll go to the V menu item. And so I can then go into V menu item view, and it passes that image name down here where it actually prints it. So it's passing the data between all three of these views. But if I were to change this data somewhere, It would only have to change it in the one place of the one menu model. And that's the power of this. This is why we often use classes for models, as models tend to have the biggest memory load on an application. Views, on the other hand, need to be created every time, so you can use structs on them because they're going to be appearing and disappearing on you. Now you have enough understanding of classes structs to use them correctly in SwiftUI. Classes are for models, and structs are for views and data within classes.